In 1933, a couple in Scotland claimed they had seen a massive creature crossing the road near a lake. No one believed them, but when photographs surfaced, the entire world held its breath. Could the legend be real? That day, the dark waters of Loch Ness were as calm as ever. But deep beneath the surface, something was stirring. The whispered tales of Scottish fishermen were about to become one of the greatest mysteries of the modern age. And no one could have guessed that a single photograph would change the world forever. Loch Ness is more than just a lake. It's a silent witness to humanity's faith in the unknown. No one knows what lives in its 755-foot deep waters. Maybe that's why for generations, millions of people have asked the same question. What if it really exists? On a sunny morning in the summer of 1933, George Spicer and his wife were driving along a road near Loch Ness. Suddenly, a gigantic creature crossed in front of their car. Spicer's description was breathtaking. A long neck, a massive body, moving with a power that shook the ground. The creature slid toward the lake and disappeared beneath the water. The Spicers were in shock, but no one believed them. Because seeing is one thing, proving is another. Yet the most shocking thing was that this wasn't the first sighting. For years, locals had told similar stories. They called the creature Nisayag. Fishing nets were torn apart. Boats rocked for no reason. Enormous shadows moved beneath the surface. But the world wasn't ready to believe, at least not until 1934. And that's when everything changed. April 21st, 1934. A London surgeon named Robert Kenneth Wilson was taking a morning walk along the shore of Loch Ness. He had his camera with him, and then he saw it. A long neck rising from the surface, a small head, and a massive body rippling through the waves. Instinctively, Wilson raised his camera. He pressed the shutter once, twice. Then, the creature vanished beneath the water. That photograph became one of the most famous images in history. The surgeon's photograph. The entire world debated what it showed. Scientists called it a fake. Skeptics said manipulated. But millions looked at that slender silhouette and thought, what if it's alive? Loch Ness was no longer just a lake. It was a phenomenon, a symbol where fear and wonder collided. Because even when science said no, the heart whispered, maybe. Wait a second, don't miss this detail. In the years that followed, hundreds of researchers from around the world flocked to Loch Ness. Sonar, submarines, underwater cameras, everything was tried. In 1954, a fishing boat's sonar detected a massive moving shadow. The movement wasn't consistent, and it didn't resemble a school of fish. The operator reviewed the data and wrote, it was alive, and it was huge. In the 1960s, an aeronautical engineer named Tim Dinsdale arrived at Loch Ness. He was skeptical but curious. He waited for days, mornings, evenings, nights. And on April 23, 1960, he saw it. He turned on his camera. The footage lasted 6 minutes. An object was moving swiftly across the water, leaving waves in its wake. It turned, dove, resurfaced, and then vanished. Dinsdale never forgot that moment. You can't call it a boat, he said. There was no engine noise. It wasn't a fish. It wasn't a deer. It was something else. Britain's Joint Air Reconnaissance Intelligence Center analyzed the footage. Their conclusion, a large, animate, unidentified object. The scientific community split in two. Half said, impossible. The other half said, maybe. But what you've seen so far is nothing. In 1972, an American team led by Dr. Robert Rines brought the most advanced underwater technology to Loch Ness. With sonar and automatic cameras, they began their search. And on the night of August 8th, the cameras caught something. The image was blurry, but clear enough to show a large flipper-like shape. It looked like a massive fin. Rines presented the photos to the scientific world. Debates erupted. Some said it's a seal. Others claimed a piece of wreckage. But no one could give a definitive answer, because Loch Ness never gives definitive answers. In 1975, another photograph emerged, this time showing a long neck and head. It was analyzed, debated, scrutinized. The conclusion was always the same. Not certain, but not impossible. In 2003, the BBC launched a massive search operation. 600 sonar beams scanned the entire lake systemically. The result, no large creature detected. But that didn't stop the believers, because Loch Ness's secrets aren't on the surface. They lie in the depths. You won't believe it. But the most fascinating testimony came years earlier. August 20th, 1952. Noon. Greta Finlay and her 13-year-old son Harry were having a picnic at Aldori Pier. Suddenly, they heard movement in the water. Greta looked and froze. A huge head had risen from the surface. The neck was long, the head small, the skin dark and shiny. The body remained underwater. but the water around it swelled. Greta and Harry watched the creature for several minutes. It didn't move. It just existed. Then it slowly sank and disappeared. This remains one of the most detailed eyewitness accounts in Loch Ness history. Greta Finlay was calm, respected, and trustworthy. Her son never forgot what he saw. In 2020, at the age of 80, he gave an interview. "What I saw that day changed my life. It was real. It was there. And I'll never forget it." But what did science say? Researcher Roland Watson studied the Finlay case for years. He found a 1903 bathymetric map showing that the spot where the creature appeared was only 22 feet deep. That meant it was close to shore, in shallow water. Too shallow for a deer. The deer theory collapsed, because the Finlays had watched the creature for minutes. And at that point, science went silent. You still haven't seen the biggest surprise. Harold Macmillan was Prime Minister. The Beatles were still playing in the Cavern Club. And a man named Tim Dinsdale read an article that would change his life. He decided to go to Loch Ness. He was just an engineer. Analytical, methodical, not the dreaming type. But one question wouldn't leave his mind. What if giant unknown animals really live in that Scottish lake? Dinsdale read a book by Constance White, published in 1957, compiling Loch Ness sightings. These weren't tabloid stories. They were serious testimonies from doctors, teachers, hotel owners, longtime Highland residents. Something clicked inside him. He was no longer a curious man. He was a seeker. His first trip was in April 1960. He quietly arrived, met Constance White, and spoke with locals. White lived in a house overlooking the lake. She listened patiently, then connected him with witnesses. One of them was Alex Campbell, a respected water bailiff who had documented sightings since the 1930s. Campbell welcomed Dinsdale with respect. So did the fishermen, because Dinsdale was different. He wasn't chasing headlines. He was chasing truth. Then he met Hugh Gray, the man who had taken the first photograph back in 1933. Gray quietly told his story. How he captured the photo. How he felt. Why no one believed him. Dinsdale looked into his eyes and knew. This man wasn't lying. The cameras were rolling. April 23, 1960, 8:50 a.m. Dinsdale stood by the lake with his 16mm Bolex camera. Hours passed, nothing. Then, suddenly, movement in the middle of the water. He raised the camera, looked, and gasped. A massive brown object glided across the surface. It wasn't moving in a straight line, but curved slightly, leaving a huge wake behind it. No engine sound, no people. It wasn't a boat. He pressed record. 40 meters of black and white film rolled. The object moved steadily, then slowed, turned, and dove beneath the water, leaving a giant wave in its wake. Silence returned. Dinsdale lowered the camera, hands trembling. "What did I just see?" he whispered. When the film was developed, the image was clear. A large brown living object moving, diving, resurfacing, and then vanishing. The Royal Air Force's intelligence unit examined it. Their report read, "A large animate living object, not a boat." That day changed Dinsdale's life. He never left Loch Ness again. Over the next 27 years, he made more than 50 expeditions. He studied the lake's every mood, its currents, winds, lighting, and shadows. He knew it better than anyone. And then, the water rose. Dinsdale wasn't alone. In the 1970s, scientists from around the world joined the search. Dr. Robert Rines and his team from the Academy of Applied Science brought advanced sonar, underwater cameras, and high-powered flashes. Their goal, one thing, proof. August 1972, midnight. Sonar detected something huge, moving. The cameras automatically fired. The next morning, the team examined the images. What they saw was shocking. A massive, flipper-shaped object. Clearly a fin, but belonging to what? Rines presented the photos to Nature and Science journals. They refused to publish, saying, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence." Rines didn't stop. In 1975, his team returned with better equipment. They captured more photos, one showing a long neck and small head, another showing a large body. Still, it wasn't enough. The scientific community remained skeptical. Blurry, ambiguous, could be something else. And maybe they were right, but maybe not. From the depths of Loch Ness, a shadow was rising. Adrian Shine led a new team to rescan the lake. This time, technology had advanced. Digital sonar, computer-assisted mapping, 3D reconstruction. Everything was meticulously planned. The result, no large unknown creatures detected. But that wasn't the end. Loch Ness is deep, 755 feet deep, cold. Visibility is only a few feet. and at the bottom lie massive caves, cracks, and tunnels. Could the creature be hiding there? The BBC launched the largest Loch Ness investigation in history. 600 sonar beams scanned the entire lake. Again, no creature found, but the witnesses didn't stay silent. They had seen something. They had felt something. They knew. A geneticist from New Zealand, Professor Neil Gemmell, collected water samples for eDNA analysis, searching for traces of all living organisms in the lake. The result? Eel DNA. Lots of it. But how big could they grow? Gemmell said, "The giant eel theory could explain the Loch Ness monster, but we can't be sure how large they get." But there was still something no one could see. Loch Ness isn't just about science. It's about belief. Humanity's yearning for the unknown, for mystery, for the hope that not everything on Earth has been discovered. Each year, hundreds of thousands visit Loch Ness. Some come to see the monster, others simply to believe. But they all ask the same question: what if it's real? Locals smile when asked. To them, the Loch Ness monster isn't just tourism, it's culture. It's their grandparents' stories, their fishermen's tales, the legends told by the fire on winter nights. And maybe that's the truth. Whether real or not, the Loch Ness monster has become one of humanity's most powerful symbols of imagination. We want to believe because the world feels more beautiful with mysteries left unsolved. Could the witnesses' connections be coincidence? The questions never end. Tim Dinsdale died in 1987. He still believed. Robert Rines died in 2009. He was still searching. Adrian Shine still studies the lake, still asks, what if we missed something? Because Loch Ness is full of questions, not answers. Photos, sonar scans, testimonies, they all exist. But none are final. Science says no. Hearts say maybe, and maybe that's enough. Maybe the Loch Ness monster doesn't exist to be proven. It exists to be believed. Maybe truth isn't the point. Maybe what matters is that humanity keeps imagining, keeps searching, keeps believing. Maybe the monster was never a creature at all. The depths of Loch Ness remain dark, its secrets remain hidden, and the world keeps wondering, because some questions aren't meant to be answered. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. Some legends are meant to live forever. And you, what do you think? Is the Loch Ness monster real? Or just a story? Or maybe somewhere between truth and legend, beneath the surface it waits, quietly, patiently. One thing is certain, Loch Ness doesn't give up its answers easily. Maybe it never will, but humanity will never stop searching. Because searching is more beautiful than finding. Wonder is more precious than knowledge. And belief, more powerful than proof. When the lake trembled, no one understood what had just happened. It was 2007. A British tourist named Gordon Holmes was filming at the shores of Loch Ness when he suddenly noticed something moving swiftly across the surface of the water. A dark, fast-moving shape. He immediately turned his camera toward it. The footage was clear. The object was around 50 feet long, moving quickly, yet there was no sound of an engine. Holmes was stunned. The video spread across the world. Experts analyzed it. Some said it was a trick of the light on the water. Others insisted it was a school of fish, but no one could explain it with certainty. Then, in 2011, a tourist couple captured an incredible photograph. In the middle of the lake, a massive dark shape was visible beneath the surface. Professional photographers examined it. There was no sign of Photoshop or digital manipulation. The image was genuine, but what it showed remained unknown. Satellite images began appearing on Apple Maps. One user noticed a long, fish-like figure in the middle of Loch Ness. The internet went wild. Soon, people began examining Google Earth from different angles and saw similar shapes. Or at least, they thought they did. Because satellite images can be deceiving. Boat wakes, waves, shadows, anything could look like the monster. A Scottish fisherman once recorded a huge object on his fish finder sonar, 30 meters deep. He captured the screen on video. The object was moving, slowly but deliberately. The fisherman cut his engine, waited, watched. But the object vanished. The sonar data was sent to analysts. The conclusion, a large single body. Not a school of fish, not a wreck, because it was moving. A drone operator filming Loch Ness from above noticed a dark shape racing beneath the surface. He zoomed in. The shadow was about 30 feet long, leaving a V-shaped wake behind it. He flew the drone directly overhead, but the shadow suddenly dove deep and disappeared. The footage went viral on YouTube. Millions watched. The comments split in two: believers and skeptics. A Japanese research team brought state-of-the-art underwater drones to Loch Ness. They mapped the lake's deepest points, exploring caves, cracks, and tunnels. And then, one of the drones discovered something extraordinary. A massive cave entrance nearly 200 meters down. It was dark, its depth unknown. The drone entered. The camera shook. And then silence. The signal was lost. The drone never returned. The team sent another one, but they never found the cave again. Everyone believed what they had seen, but the real shock was beneath the water. Steve Feltham has lived by Loch Ness for over 30 years. In his caravan by the lake, he spends every day watching, waiting. And one early morning, he finally saw something. A shape rippling across the surface. He grabbed his binoculars, looked closer. His heartbeat quickened. A long, slender neck, a small head. A massive shadow just beneath the surface. Steve reached for his camera, but his hands were shaking too much to focus. The creature lingered for a few seconds longer, then slowly sank into the water. Steve never forgot that moment. "I'd been waiting 30 years, he said, and I finally saw it. Now I know. It's real." And then the sonar operator heard it. A massive heartbeat. The story doesn't end here, because the story of Loch Ness never ends. Every year, new witnesses appear, new photographs surface, new questions arise, and the world is still searching for answers. Maybe one day you'll stand at the edge of Loch Ness yourself. You'll look out over the dark, quiet waters, and maybe a ripple will form. Maybe a shadow will pass. Maybe something from the depths will be looking back at you. What would you do then? Would you believe? Would you doubt? Or would you simply wonder? That's the magic of Loch Ness. It doesn't give answers. It asks questions. It sparks curiosity, not certainty. And perhaps that's why it will never die. Final words. Is the Loch Ness monster real? Science still has no answer. Witnesses are convinced. Skeptics remain steadfast. Researchers keep searching. And you still wonder. Maybe the truth is this. The Loch Ness monster doesn't need to be real, because it's already more powerful than reality. It's a legend, a symbol, a living reflection of humanity's faith in the unknown. And every photograph, every testimony, every whisper that touches that belief makes the legend stronger. Today, the waters of Loch Ness are calm. Its depths remain dark, its secrets remain hidden, and the world is still waiting. Maybe tomorrow, another witness will see something. Maybe tomorrow, a scientist will find definitive proof. Or maybe the mystery will never be solved. But one thing is certain. Loch Ness will never be forgotten. Because it isn't just a lake. It's the home of humanity's most beautiful question. What if it's real? And that's why legends never die. Because believers never disappear.